Welcome back to AFTV. This is Behind the Numbers. This is the show where we discuss and we break down a little bit how Arsenal's underlying numbers are looking and trying to get an idea for how sustainable the great run of form we're in. We've only done this, 3 or 4 times, Turkish? I think?
A few times.
Maybe, 3 or 4. And twice last season. This is our second one this season.
Yeah.
We average about 2 a year. It's not a very regular show, people. But I think it's good it's not a regular show. It's the kind of thing you need to gather a lot of evidence. There needs to be a lot to really bring together. There's no point going, we've won 3 in a row. Let's see if we can win the title.
Because everything's so fast-paced in this business industry, content creating. You hear our opinions day in, day out. You hear our opinion just before a game, just after a game. So, there's always talk of, flip-flop, or, you thought this then. What this show does is give enough time to potentially change an opinion, potentially change your thought process. That's why I like this one. Yeah,
I totally agree. Let's go into it. I mean, the real thing we're trying to understand in this show is how are Arsenal looking, not only compared to last season, because we did that on the last show, comparing how results were matching up compared to last season's results against the same clubs. We were looking at the pace we were on. At the point of recording, we hadn't lost a game yet, so it shows you kind of how early in the season we had, done that show. But we also want to have a look at how we're comparing, with the Champions League and how Arsenal seem to be approaching the competitions slightly differently. Let's go into it. And we've got the first table here. Arsenal so far, this is looking at our season in general. Remember that kind of, I think there was footage, maybe when we signed a player, I can't remember Raya, Havertz, whoever, and you got behind the scenes footage and you could see on the wall in one of the offices the Premier League, the FA Cup and the Champions League trophies. And we want to just reflect on where Arsenal are compared to going to the March break last season. Arsenal, after 28 games last season, were on 69 points. Arsenal actually 5 points off that. 5, there you go. I can't do quick mental math. 5 points off that pace with 64 points, but still holding top spot. In Europe, we've just been knocked out against Sporting on penalties. This time, though, penalties against another Portuguese club, Porto. We did find a way and are into the quarters. But if you look at some of the cup runs, they're not very good. 2 fourth-round exits. Actually, that's a mistake. It's a third-round exit in the FA Cup, so I'll make sure that's correct on the graphic as I'm reading it here. It's wrong. But it was a third-round exit against Brighton in the Carabao Cup last season. City in the 4th round of the FA Cup, and 2 third-round exits as well. That's where it's incorrect, because the West Ham was a 4th round exit. So the graphic will be correct, but my reading out of it is wrong. You get the point. It's very early exit. And how do you reflect on that when you look at our work, our body of work, in the 2 seasons where Arsenal have actually felt a serious side again?
It's a weird one, because obviously the cup stages are similar. 4th round League Cup, 4th round League Cup last year, 3rd round FA Cup, 4th this last season, and points wise we've got less points, but I just feel better about where we are now than I did last season. Look, I'm an Arsenal fan, so I never once said this, but if an opposition called us a pretender, that's how I felt throughout most of the season. As much as I was enjoying it, as much as I was riding the wave, it did feel like, something's going to go wrong, because it just went right from game week 1 all the way through post World Cup, even with Jesus' injury, still picked up big wins against United, Tottenham, etc. But
it's plucky, the word. Like, I don't want to take from the great work we did last season. We were scoring loads of goals, we outscored the Invincibles, and it was great. But can we reflect on it now, seeing how this season went, and we can actually recognise a different confidence in the team? I know some people might go, you're just living in the moment, you felt great last season as well. But last season, it took me, from what I remember, it took me a while to go, I think we can do it. And it was, I think, when we went 8 points clear and we won at Tottenham. It took a while, whereas this season, for a lot of the season, even we have fallen 2 or 3 behind, I've always really felt we were in it.
Because in the games, I think there's less left for debate in terms of last season, especially towards the latter end. You could see mentally some of the moments throughout, whether it was a Liverpool game, West Ham game, Southampton game, slowly but surely our mentality was getting hit. Mentally, the players were getting hit week in, week out. We just didn't, know how to recover in time. This season, it feels very different because we've got a lot more control over 90 minutes. If we go a goal up, whether it be against West Ham or Liverpool, where last season we went a couple goals up and still, escaped with a point. I think this season we're much better placed. We're a lot more mature to handle those moments where a lot of commentators have said over the years that, you're most susceptible to conceding a goal as soon as you scored a goal. Last season, I think Arsenal still had an element of that in them. This season, I feel like we're a lot stronger, we're a lot pluckier. You are right, that's a word I think I'd even use this season in terms of, even when it doesn't look like we're playing well, because against Porto, most recently, I'd say we didn't have a great 180 minutes, but we got the job done and we got through.
Now, since call it the Dubai break, which was a winter break, and we always talk about it as a Dubai break, but essentially English football did its, half the teams play one weekend, the other half play the other weekend to ensure that every team would get something of a week/2 week break. Arsenal since then have put together an incredibly impressive set of results. I haven't even bothered tallying the amount of goals scored and conceded and all that, but you look at some of those results, starting with the 5-0 win against Palace, where, call me crazy, I thought it was a pretty underwhelming 5-0 win. Like, we won, it was 5, but it was a 95th, 96th minute goal from Martinelli that really put the shine on the result. Took two set pieces to go 2-0 up. Then we go to Forest. We weren't brilliant. We were good. We weren't brilliant, but we win it 2-1. I don't think they ever really deserved a goal in that game either. But I think the Liverpool win, it clicked. Because suddenly we put 3 wins in a row. And I predicted a 3-1 win going into that game because I was just so encouraged by the way we handled the 2 previous games against Liverpool. And my word, what a tone it set till now, where we are.
Yeah, I mean, going back to, we'll talk about the tone that set, but I think the break itself, I have to give credit to Mikel because it wasn't just that we had a break and we came back a different side. Something changed in that break, and Mikel Arteta would have been the catalyst for that. Whether it's, Kai Havertz being seen as a striker option more now. I know he still gets deployed in midfield, and when subs happen, he can still fill in. But I think that was a big change, not only for us, but for Kai as well himself, his productivity and his standing at Arsenal. And I think going into that break, the question was goals. Where are they going to get goals from? Do they need Ivan Toney? Is Osimhen the answer? And so on. Something that we couldn't answer in January. So Mikel Arteta had to answer it in that Dubai break, in the winter break. Because in the summer, instead of, spending big up top, he spent big in midfield. So I'll give him credit because Kai Havertz, that move has paid well for both the club and for him. And we're scoring a hell of a lot of goals. And we look at that Liverpool game, again, I'll talk about mentally, the mentality of this team. A lot of these players, we had just got knocked out to Liverpool in the FA Cup, in a manner that by half-time we should have been clear. We should have been a couple goals up by half-time, and we wasn't. And a lot of people could say typical. Even though it's not typical, because whenever do we go Liverpool or play Liverpool and come out thinking we should be up at half time?
That's a good point.
Comfortably. Hasn't happened many times over the last 10 years. And we just do the job next time we play them in a game that essentially at that time our hopes of a title were on the line for a lot of fans, including myself, because there was 5 ahead, I believe.
They were. We had to win that to cut it to 2.
Yeah, so I think when you look at the mentality in that game, and really, we scored 3, could have probably scored more.
Yeah, I totally agree. And especially with that Dubai break, like, you're right to give credit to Arteta, in my opinion, because it's so easy to go, oh, they took 2 weeks off, they came back refreshed. I think we saw a lot of changes to that Arsenal team. You mentioned Kai Havertz playing more minutes up front since then. Does feel like that might have been something they worked on. I also think the way Ben White started to invert, the way Saka started to tuck in a little bit as well. We saw different combinations. Kivior, I think, coming back and growing into his role more and more, fitting in for Zinchenko. I think David Raya and that understanding, I think you see that when he throws out to Gabi Jesus for the counter-attack and we score against Palace, Trossard putting us 3-0 up. I think suddenly the players that maybe felt a little bit out of it, and the players whose roles looked a bit stale, Saka on the touchline, chalking his boots, is he going to get help? Suddenly it felt like we had solutions and answers
100%,
again.
You're right. And to be honest, I should have mentioned those names too, because it wasn't just Kai that came back a different player. I think Ben White is definitely one of the names on top of that list. Post winter break, he's really kicked on. Saka, you're right. Kivior, you're right. There's a few, and now I just went live on my channel. This is probably a couple of days ago now, depending on when this comes out. I was asked about how important the fringe players will be moving forward. Coming out of that winter break now, our fringe players are Jesus, Thomas Partey, Vieira, players that in the last 18 months before the winter break we were looking at as either integral pieces that we needed to win, or Vieira, someone that we hope steps into the first team and becomes a first team. And now they're players that we look at off the bench at this moment in time, and obviously rotation. No disrespect to Jesus in particular. I think I'm tired of Partey and his injuries, but yeah, I think what's come out of the winter break, some things can't even be quantified.
Yeah,
it's just happening. Well, we've got the most goals off the bench, I believe, this season.
I think that's right. Yeah, mistaken. I did hear that somewhere.
Our defence has the most goals. Our centre backs got the most goals. We've got the most set piece goals.
Yeah,
and we've got the most goals in the league.
We haven't even covered the set pieces in the show. Actually, that's a really good point. Yeah, I mean, in all the graphics we're going to be showing you, that is something we actually didn't even bother picking up because it's kind of overdone. Like it's really been talked about. But you are right. That's been a major thing. We came out flying on the set piece front. So no, you're right. And look, there it's brought us a really impressive set of results. 8 wins in a row in the Premier League. The one defeat came at Porto. But it's a really annoying defeat in there because it's also not a defeat, and what I mean by that is the job wasn't done. Yeah. Nothing was finished. That was half time in the tie, so it's frustrating. But I get it. You know, I can't say that and then also not say that. I can't say that and then also say that Arsenal did beat Porto over that 90 minutes. Yeah. But obviously,
full time was 1-1 basically.
Yeah, essentially. Let's have a look at season projections. I love doing this because pre-2024. Our form in the Premier League had us on course for 76 points, 70 goals scored, and 38 goals conceded. So actually, on the defensive side, we were looking okay. But you got to think last season we had 84 points, we scored 88 goals, I think it was. Now, that run of 8 results that we've just talked about in the Premier League has swung things so dramatically that not only from where we were on course to finish well below points-wise, goals-wise, off what we did last season, we're now set. If we keep up, not even this pace suggests 2024 alone. I'm talking 2024 plus what we've done before, which obviously drags it down. That pace of the 28 games through the rest of the season would have us finishing on 87 points, which is more than the 84 of last season, 95 goals scored and 33 goals conceded. What's slightly scary though is I don't think any of us think 87 points is going to confirm the title. So is it more a case of keeping the momentum of these last 8 wins, and with 10 to go, are we looking at maybe needing 9 wins and a defeat, or 8 wins and 2 draws might get it done? Is that what we're saying?
I think 87 gets it done.
Do you think 87 wins the title?
Yeah.
Wow.
I do think 87.
Okay.
10 games to go. There's a few juicy fixtures. The teams that are in dogfights tend to pick up results against the bigger and better teams in the running.
So sorry to cut you. So we're on 64 points. This is the kind of stuff I really should have prepped before. But we're on 64 points. 10 games to go. So there's 30 up for grabs. So we can get a maximum of 94. So basically you're basically saying you can afford about 2 defeats or 3 draws maybe.
Yeah.
7 wins, 3 draws, maybe 8 wins, a draw, defeat, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I think 87 wins it, whether it's Liverpool, Arsenal or City. I think that's that number. Yeah, I think that wins it this season. Because I don't think City are as strong as last season. Yeah, I think form suggests that as well. We're, not on. Well, at this moment in time, we're not on course for the target we thought we was going to get last season, even though it ended some way short of it. And Liverpool, as much as Liverpool have been exceeding expectations this season, they've got some they've got. People look at Liverpool's running and say, they'll win the rest of their games. They're not going to win the rest of their games.
I don't think it looks the most ideal of run-ins, if I'm honest.
No, it might look better compared to ours because of the away games we have. But I see us dropping points, City dropping points, and Liverpool dropping points in the last 10.
For people watching this show and thinking, can you guys please tell us what you're talking about? They still have to go, Liverpool. They have Everton away, Brighton at home, Man United away, Fulham away, West Ham away, Tottenham at home, and Villa away. Those are all still fixtures they've got to play. Could they win all of them? They absolutely could. But if Arsenal had those left, I wouldn't be that confident. So I think we can, but it's not ideal. And then
I think 8 wins from now for any of the 3 teams wins the league.
Fair enough. But the season projections, man, that's a big change.
Yeah, they're a very big change. 76 to 87, 70 goals scored to 95, 5 less conceded. But listen, the run that we've been on warrants that change.
Yeah, fair.
Beginning of the season, first half of the season, I had a lot of concerns about fluidity, transition, why our attack wasn't looking as lethal as it did at times last season. And the question was, can Mikel add what we had from last season into what he's creating this season, and knit it all together. Post winter break, we see the results. Now we see the projection changing. I think he's knitted it together quite well, and we're in a perfect place going into the last 10.
It's looking really good. 20 wins, 4 draws and 4 defeats for Arsenal in the league table. Let's talk XG, because it's a stat that divides opinion. We always banter about it. Being deadly serious, do you give any, let's use the word respect, to the XG metric?
No.
Fair enough.
No, you're probably not the answer you want to hear.
Well,
but do you know why?
You're not going to like what I've got later in the show.
Do you know why?
It gets worse.
No, but listen, it's interesting to me because it's not something I ever pay attention to. But for me, there was a game this season where I forgot who it was, an Arsenal player. It was the 6-yard, but it might have been Kai against United, or one of them types of chances where the goal's there, the ball's there, and you're in the 6-yard box. He's missed. XG has said 0.7. If that is not 1 XG, if that should not have been a goal, then I don't get XG at all. How is it 0.7 in the 6-yard box with no defender in front of you? Tell me when it's 1 then. Tell me what chance represents 1 XG.
Fair enough. That's a good point.
But yeah.
No, do you know what? That's a good point. And I've got to be honest, as much as Graham and we always tackle these stats, I think I try to make sense of them, but there's one coming later in the show that even I will look at you and go, I'm not sure about this one, but it will come. I actually give some respect to the XG stat in terms of an accumulation of, because football is one of those games where you can do nothing and then just drop it in the top corner from 30 yards. I think the idea of accumulating the shots and getting a rough idea of, how much pressure did you put on a team? I think there is something to read into it. I always think, though, you judge football with your eyes first. What we do see here is Arsenal's XG numbers compared to our rivals, and we've got our expected goal difference and expected points. So this was first tackled on Monday Night Football with Thierry Henry and Jamie Carragher. Just built on it here a little bit because Arsenal are at the top of the expected goal difference table, if you want to call it that, with 38.34 expected goal difference. So basically that's taking your expected goals minusing your expected goals conceded.
Okay.
So it's looking at what should your goal difference be essentially. And we're at the top of that. We are accumulating more quality of shots, or better quality and more shots than Man City and Liverpool, to what we're conceding the other way as well. We're City and Liverpool third there. Now City and Liverpool remain third on expected points as well. So for the XG battle against teams, we should have 60.26 points apparently, or whatever. Now we all know it's not an exact science, but those numbers, they're not miles away. That's the one thing about expected goals. Actually, across the accumulation of the season, they don't line up miles from what teams are actually sort of achieving. But the reason this is important is because if we go to this next graphic, the importance of expected goal difference from the last 5 seasons tells you that Man City, who have had the best expected goal difference for the last 5 seasons, have won the title in 4 of those 5 with Liverpool. And of course, we know Liverpool are a brilliant team who would have been on the right side of a lot of those metrics as well. So while it might be
even that though, surely depending on when you did this or do this in the 2019-20 season, because Liverpool pretty much ran away with that. So if you did this two months in, surely their XGD would have been top.
I thought it was strange, I have to say. And then I looked at that season. City scored a load of goals. I think they scored like 100 goals that season.
I think so, yeah.
I think so. I mean, it's just the 1920, wasn't it?
Yep.
Man City scored 102 goals and only conceded 35. So City must have just been smashing some teams and then losing the odd 1-0 and the odd 2-1 or whatever, or having a lot of shots and having bad, because they lost 9 games that season, which was very unlike Man City. Man United in third, were on 66 points, actually lost less than City.
And did they have the best goal difference that year, City?
Yeah, 67.
Yeah, so that's still
so it was a very strange season, but generally that sort of campaign, scoring 102 goals, conceding 35, spread out more properly over a season, you're probably going to come out with the title. So City, okay, that was the one thing that didn't happen, but it gives some importance to that particular stat. And I think that Sky Sports tackled, and this was pre the Brentford game, I think it's important to say that, but I don't think any of these numbers would have changed from after playing Brentford. Arsenal had the best goal, they ranked first for goals conceded, they ranked first for open play goals conceded, clean sheets, expected goals against per game, shots on targets faced per game, and opposition touches in the box per game. I actually think this is an incredible set of stats. I think our defence, and the bit I love is the opposition touches in the box. It's not that we park the bus really well and essentially we limit you to very few chances, very low quality chances. We don't let you near our goal when Arsenal are really at it.
Yeah, that's the best thing for me out of all these numbers and what I'm reading. Even the XG stuff, I much prefer the XGA than the XG. And by that I mean, I don't know if that's the right lettering.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, absolutely.
When it's used in terms of telling us how good our defence has been.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That is the biggest thing I take from it. I don't know why it is, but when you hear the XG since the calendar year started was under 2 at one point, in comparison to I think the next best team was 8 or 9 or 10. Yeah. You could see there, without even caring too much about the numbers, that there's a big difference there.
I know why it is. It's because when it's that overwhelming, like it has been for Arsenal's numbers since Dubai, it almost strikes this like you've got no hope feeling to the opposition. No, forget trying to outscore us.
Yeah.
We're not even going to let you shoot. And that has been what's so impressive about Arsenal's structure and their defence and the way we've been able to nullify teams whilst trying to play our football. Yeah. So I actually agree. I take a lot more from the expected goals against stat, when measuring Arsenal's defence than expected goals and trying to measure our attack, because you have 35 shots on goal and none of them are that great. You're going to accumulate a degree of
XG. Exactly. And the defence is the platform for success.
Yeah.
That's what you build on. And we've been starved of a good defence in the Emirates era.
Yeah.
So, as much as I like free-flowing, exciting football, I like to see goals, I want fluidity and transition.
Yeah.
Having a reliable defence again, that produce these sorts of numbers week in, week out now for at least 18 to 24 months. I'm very comfortable, knowing that our defence is completely different to what it's been in the last 15 years.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you saw that even when we've had trouble against the likes of Porto, for example, we weren't really at it. They're actually the reason we sort of stayed in it. And they weren't really at their best in either game, I thought, Saliba and Gabriel. But their floor, to a degree, is so much higher than the ceilings of donkeys that played for us. I don't mean to be rude, but let's go to this. I think it's a great graph from Data Analytic EPL. That is the Twitter, as you can see on the graphic. It's got the shots conceded per game and the XG conceded per game, which, to what you were saying, what this essentially tells us with Arsenal in that bottom left, this is via FOTMob's set of numbers and stats. What it tells us that not only are Arsenal conceding the fewest shots per game, or slightly more than City, it's actually that they're conceding very few quality as well. So you're barely going to have any shots, and the ones you are, they're very unlikely to go in. City are conceding very few, but actually when they are
big chances.
Pretty high quality chances. Now that totally fits with my eye test. When I watched them beat Brentford 1-0 the other day, they were better than Brentford, but Brentford had a few openings. I was like, okay, Brentford could have got one back here. And that's been quite true of the Chelsea game as well. So that is totally in line with what I'm seeing, and again just really cements that Arsenal are doing really well at just, you get a few shots and they're not going to be very good ones. Good luck scoring. Let's look at this now. I really like this from Squawker. Arsenal's defence in the Champions League. It really is a defence theme, this second half of the video, but I think they really deserve it, and Arteta and everyone. It's not just the defenders, it's the whole team as a unit, how they defend. But Arsenal's 5 goals conceded in the Champions League is the fewest conceded in the competition. 0.9 expected goals on target. Now that is the stat that I don't think you're going to like, but I will explain it. Expected goals on target. You know why I don't think you'll like it? Because I don't like it.
Expected goals on target.
I'll explain it.
Okay.
And then 4 clean sheets as well is the best record. Worth noting that nobody has managed to score at the Emirates Stadium yet in the Champions League this season, which is these are the stats I do take pride in. And I'm like, that is great. So here's the definition for expected goals on target. We tried to explain on Tactical Insight. Bless Graham. He sort of got me understanding it. But I've still it's one of those you understand in the moment, and then you go, wait, what was it? So here we go. This is the official definition from but I get this definition from Opta, I think. Anyway, XG, so expected goals, measures the quality of chances that a side makes, and expected goals on target builds on this to tell us what a team managed to do with these chances. Essentially, XG is a pre-shot model, while XGOT, expected goals on target, is a post-shot model. So, I think what it's basically saying is, if there's a goal and the ball is here and they're striking it at goal, before that ball's hit, expected goals tells you how good a chance that is to score. Whereas expected goals on target is after it's been hit, what are the chances of it going in? So I think it measures the quality of the shot.
I think you've ruined the show for me. If I'm honest. Fucking hell.
It's not a good one.
Where was we?
If you followed that, well done. I don't even really get it. If I'm honest, I don't. And Cecil's laughing in the background. So I tried. There's a reason I'm telling you this. For everyone who's just like, who cares? The reason I'm telling you this is because obviously that score thing we just read out. If you understand, there'll be some people in the comments, because I was speaking to people about it, and they'll go, no, James, I get it. It's important because it's actually a better measure than XG. Fair enough. If it is, fine. But the reason I'm telling you this is because of this graphic by Scoreker as well, which shows you that actually Arsenal rank, as the best team in the Champions League, 4 expected goals on target conceded per game, but up there with them are Porto. So, without trying to re-understand what the hell it means, it maybe tells us that Porto are perhaps sturdier and actually are very good at keeping that ball out their net. Whatever you think of that stat, clearly compared to other teams, they're doing better at it defensively, and maybe makes sense. Like Arsenal had their work cut out, for them against a side like Porto, who were only knocked out 1-0 on aggregate by Inter Milan last year, who got to the Champions League final, and they made it really hard for us. Go on.
So basically, completely off subject. Have you seen the movie Four Lions?
No.
The Channel 4 movie?
No.
Bro, for anyone that's seen it out there,
Yeah.
The main guy in it, I forgot his name, Waj.
Okay.
Yeah? He had a confused face, and sometimes he had to ask his friend, am I confused? Is this my confused face? As I'm looking at you now, I'm thinking, James is looking at a very confused man right now. Yeah, so big up Four Lions, classic movie. But yeah, XGOT, I'm even thinking Game of Thrones when I'm thinking GOT. I'm just, whoever made this style, please just rename it at least.
Yeah.
Because GOT is Game of Thrones.
Also, rather they said expected shots on target. What is goals on target? Every goal's on target. It's a goal. Do you know what I mean? I'll happily look at people, right, and I like the stats, but I'll tell you if I think something's nonsense. I think this one might be nonsense.
so do I, but yeah.
But, again, worth explaining, because I did want to present this graphic, which highlighted Porto as a defensively resilient side.
Yeah, and they are. And you know what's interesting? Before you started trying to explain all this to me, and I was looking at the graph, and I was just thinking about how good we are defensively, how few chances we concede. I liken it to Atletico.
Yeah.
But nothing else about us is Atletico. When Atletico want to, over the years, Diego Simeone, he knows how to be hella rigid, not allow any big chances. He knows how to really grind it out. We've got that in us defensively, but a completely different aspect offensively and in the transition. It's a beautiful thing, man, because it's the platform to success. Every great team has had a great defence, you know, and some teams have won simply with a great defence. Yeah. Very few have won simply with a great attack.
I know what you mean. Look at the Liverpool side in 13-14. That we were supposedly in that title race, and City came through with the best balance of the lot, but they scored goals galore. Yeah,
look at PSG over the years. Messi, Neymar, Mbappe and so on.
This league table I just read out, City scored 102 goals in 2019-20. Liverpool scored nearly 20 less with 85 goals, but Liverpool had they conceded 2 goals less than City.
Yeah.
Now it might only be 2 goals, but if the standard was that their defence was always better than City's, it got them over the line. And they only lost 3 games that season. Whereas City lost 9. So there you go. Defence is picking up points. They matter. I want to ask you to round off the show. Have Arsenal got a different style in the Champions League? And the reason I ask is this. Have a look at these numbers. From our Premier League and Champions League campaigns of this season, Arsenal are averaging 17 shots per game in the Premier League, but they're only averaging 13 in the Champions League, and we're having an average of 61.5% possession in the Premier League, only 57.5% in the Champions League. Now, they're not major drop-offs. No one's saying that we are prime Barcelona in the Premier League and Tony Pulis Stoke in the Champions League. But again, this very much sits with what I'm seeing on the eye. In the Champions League, I look how we were away at Lens, away at Sevilla, away in Porto, and who's the other trip we did? PSV. We rotated. Arsenal felt they had control of games without really trying to blitz sides. At the Emirates, we've looked a little bit more, okay, let's open up and have a go. But I think we've played some of our best football. It's funny, at the beginning of the season, people were saying we're playing our best football in the Champions League. But actually, now that we've seen more of the Champions League, more of the Premier League, I'm not sure that's true. So, I mean, how do you reflect on those numbers?
I think it's teething concerns more than anything. By that I mean, last season was our first season challenging for a title, and we did it with pretty much, the handbrakes off in a sense.
Yeah.
Didn't get over the line, but I think Mikel knew then that this is the time to add a bit more to this squad to make them a bit more mature, and he's done that. This is our first time back in the Champions League.
Yeah.
And the numbers are so tight to me. I mean, a 4% swing in possession.
There's not a lot in it.
Yeah, there's not a lot in it that I think that he's, in a sense, testing the waters with what he has been and wants to do in the league, in the Champions League, but also applying a bit of, listen, the occasion in this one we're not used to. We're now used to a title challenge. We're now used to a 38-game season. We're now used to competing with City, Liverpool, even if it's only over one season. You know you can do that now. So what can you do better? In the Champions League, it's not a case of you can do that because we haven't been in it in so long. So I think ideally for him, I think he does want to do what he's doing in the league. And I believe in our home games more than anything in the Champions League, we've seen that, even the first half of the season, I think we were better in the Champions League than the league. But I do think his approach is probably the correct one for a young manager with no experience in the Champions League. And the young side with no experience in the Champions League. You can't go gung-ho. Like we've seen young teams go in like a Dortmund, and Monaco, and Ajax. That youthful exuberance can take you far, but it doesn't take you over the line.
Yeah, no, fair point. We've gone through all those numbers, and like you said, from set pieces and everything, there's so much more we could have covered. In a line, do these look sustainable numbers? Do these look numbers that a second season on, going to the March international break, top of the league, and now making that progress in Europe, Bayern Munich to come, Real Madrid and City waiting if we make it past. We're right in the thick of it. Does this feel sustainable to you? And I don't mean just for this season to get the major honours. Does it feel like Arsenal are here to stay as a legit competitor in European football?
Yeah, and it's not necessarily the numbers that are doing that for me, because like I said, I'm not really a numbers man.
No.
I like that what you've shown me today and it's gone through has backed up what I've been seeing.
Yeah, exactly.
Now it's our second year in a title race. Now in the Champions League, we're getting past tough knockout fixtures, penalty shootouts and so on. I can feel, that it's sustainable. I expect another title challenge next year, and I expect to go far in the Champions League next year, and I expect Premier League and the Champions League in the next 5 years. Well, not Champions League for sure, Premier League expect it sooner. So yeah, these numbers simply back all that up, whether I, pay too much mind to them or not. It's nice to know. Like I said, especially the defensive numbers. For me, that's special, because growing up, Arsenal was built on defence. Wenger came into a defence that he had to build what he built on. So for me, I've always seen an Arsenal team be successful off of the back of a quality defence. Yeah, totally not to agree. Turkish, big thanks for joining everyone. I hope you enjoyed this. Let us know, what do you make of Arsenal's expected Game of Thrones numbers for this season, and can it get Arsenal over the line? And have I got my confused face, or let me know, people? Do you know what, all of you, if you get it and you can explain it better, let us know, what are we missing? Like, why is this? Don't get them started, because you'll get a hell of a lot of wankers in the comments trying to explain what's going on. Trust me, there's a lot of them out there. Turkish, I'm about to go skiing. This is for you to read through. So it's my birthday Monday, mate. Fuck your skiing. You better get your phone out in the Alps or wherever you are. All right. It's my fucking birthday, mate. That's just shout.
You've got to read the XG. It's your birthday. If you know, you know. Everyone, big thank you. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to AFTV. And of course, it is the international break. We're all enjoying a much needed break after a crazy 2 months, but there will still be content coming thick and fast on the channel. Go check out everything else if you missed it, from our reaction to the Champions League draw, the recent wins, and all sorts. Everyone, big thank you. Catch you in a bit.